Hi there and welcome to part 4 of my video series called What is Marketing? And in this particular video we're going to look at your channels, and these are the methods by which you get your broadcast, your boast, your message in front of your target audience or market. My name is Carl Craig West and I'm the founder of the Auckland Marketing Club, which is part of Auckland Business Builders. I'm also a speaker, an author, trainer and business mentor. And if you like this video, please share it out far and wide. If you're watching it on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. It would be great to have you on board. And remember to click on the like button. And if you have any comments or questions, please ask. We're more than happy to help. Okay, so let's just have a really quick recap. First of all, we looked at the ABC, which is audience, boast, brag, broadcast, or channels. We're here on channels. Now, the channels are the tools that you use to communicate with your target audience. Now, what becomes apparent if you've been through the exercise of going through audience and also your broadcast, and I'll put a link in the description below to each of those, is that once you've worked out who it is you're selling to, where they are, who they are, etc., and all that you can possibly about them, the channels that we're going to be looking at now should become almost apparent. Not quite obvious, because there are some great ways of getting your broadcast across to your audience that are not obvious, and it's up to you to work some of these things out. But once you understand your audience, and that is a key part of this whole exercise, these channels become so much easier to work out. And once you've worked out your broadcast, you should then know what it is you're saying to your audience on these channels each and every time. Okay, so what is a marketing channel? Well, like I said, it's a method by which you get your message across. So what does that include? Well, first of all, it includes all social media, and Facebook, TikTok if you do TikTok marketing, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, and all of the others which are out there. Those are marketing channels. You've also got email. You've also got your website. You've also got advertising. You've got networking. You've got events that you can go to, exhibiting, etc. There are literally hundreds of channels that you can use to get your message, your broadcast in front of your target audience. But here's the thing. You need to be aware of not just going with the crowd. Now, I want to tell you a bit of a story. Now, a friend of mine, Jazz, he's an incredible marketeer in Derbyshire in the UK. And it must have been 2.5, 3 years ago, he was going on about Clubhouse. Oh, you got to be on Clubhouse. Clubhouse is going to be huge. Where is it now? In early 2022, it's non-existent. And despite his enthusiasm for Clubhouse, I was a wee bit cynical, because I thought I need to see the business case for this. I need to see that it does enable me to get my my broadcast and my boast in front of my target audience. And I couldn't see that early on. And that doesn't mean I wasn't enthusiastic about it. That doesn't mean I was dismissing it completely. I wanted to see that it was a method that you could use to reach my target audience, which were small businesses. Turns out that wasn't the case. Turns out Clubhouse came out with a big, flurry of activity, flurry of publicity. Everybody seemed to be raving about it. And now, a couple of years on, it's nearly non-existent. And the same thing with TikTok, but TikTok's hung around and TikTok is still widely used. So let's have a quick step back. So have a look at some of your target audiences. Now, I don't know, obviously, what business you're in. I sell business to business, but business to small businesses and the self-employed. I'm not interested in bigger businesses. I'm not interested in working for, national or international businesses. They're not in my target audience. People who are self-employed, often working from home or running tiny businesses, are my target audience. So let's have a think about it. TikTok. Is TikTok going to help me reach my audience? Possibly, but the chances are low. To be honest, nobody goes to TikTok to look for marketing services. However, they do go to LinkedIn. And we're just talking about social media here. They go to LinkedIn to look for marketing services. So I'm all over LinkedIn. LinkedIn is my favorite online channel. Well, second favorite online channel. People also search in the search engines for marketing help and marketing services and marketing support and marketing advice here in Auckland. So I need to make sure that my website is very well optimized to reach that target audience. As a matter of fact, you need to make sure your website is optimized anyway to reach your target audience, because more and more people search on that search for stuff, particularly hyper-local stuff. I'm here on the North Shore of Auckland. People search for marketing help North Shore. Not in big numbers, but I want to make sure I'm there. So, and so should you with your website. And if you don't have a website, seriously, get one. I don't care what it takes. I don't care how much effort you perhaps put into it. Maybe even spend some money. Start on Wix if you absolutely have to. But make sure you get a website. People search more and more these days, particularly on their phones, so your website needs to be mobile friendly. But that's just one channel, your website and the search engines. Okay, so make sure you got a website, make sure it's optimized for the terms that your target audience uses to find you. So if you're selling B2B, as I am, LinkedIn needs to be your friend. I have a Twitter account which I use, which to be honest I've had for a long time. In fact, I had a Twitter account not long after it started, and from my point of view, I don't believe I've ever won any work from Twitter. Okay, not to say that it isn't useful to get the word out there, to get, drive some traffic to my website, etc. But I've never won any work from Twitter selling business to business. I know some people who have, and I also know that some people selling business to business do quite well out of Instagram. Okay, and that's fine. Whichever channels you use, you need to make sure that your target audience is there. I'm serious. Are your target audience where you're putting out all your time and all of your effort? Because the challenge with a lot of social media, it takes time, it takes effort. Now, I want to tell you a quick story about a client of mine. He was paying a social media marketing company to do some social media for him, and they'd got him a Twitter account, an Instagram account, and a Facebook account, and they were putting stuff into these accounts. And when he came on board, joined the Auckland Marketing Club, I looked at his social media and I thought, you got no Twitter followers. You have no Instagram followers. Not just a few, zero. So I went back to him and said, look, this is a waste of time and money. You have no audience here. You have no people following you. You have no one connected with you. And you've only followed a handful of people. These guys who are doing your social media for you, they're not doing you any favors. In fact, they're wasting time. Because unless you have an audience that's connected with you on the social channels, or you're going out to win on hashtags, and that's a whole different kettle of fish, then it's not going to work for you. It seriously is not going to work for you. So I convinced him that, quite frankly, the Twitter and the Instagram were never going to work for him, and just to focus his efforts on Facebook. And that's proving to be far more successful. In his particular case, Google Business Profile is also working quite well. Another channel, he's an electrician reaching people in his local area. Okay, so that's just a handful of different channels. But whatever you do, whichever channels you choose, whichever social media you choose, I use email marketing, I have a podcast, both of which are used by a business-to-business audience. My email does incredibly well. I run events, seminar events as well that I use as a channel, which works again incredibly well with a business-to-business audience. Might not necessarily work so well with a business-to-consumer audience, but you just never know. I go to networking events, again, not applicable to reach my target market. Now, these are the channels that I've got to reach a small business market, a local market here in Auckland. What can you do? I have a former client who sells sweets online, right? Their big deal is Instagram and Facebook. Why? And they do a little bit of TikTok. Why? Because their target audience is all over it. They have a very visual product. They're very, very good at what they do. They put lots of stuff on Instagram all about the sweets that they do and them in action, people enjoying their sweeties, etc. They do lots of stuff on Facebook, short videos and stuff like that. They're really, really good. But they've developed a really good audience in doing that. Why? Because their audience is there. Would they sell as many sweets if they were spending all their time on LinkedIn? They'd sell some. But because it's a business-to-business channel, the number would be a lot less. Now, if you are a small local business, even if you're, I like using the example of hairdressers because they are very hyper-personalised. It's a very personal one-to-one service. You could even put ads in the local windows around shops in your area. You could do some collaboration to cross-promote one another. Those are channels. If there's a series of shops, as there is in our village centre down the hill, they help one another by cross-promoting. Okay, if you're running a restaurant or cafe, why not make somebody an offer? Say, we'll pay for your coffee if you share what you're eating on your Facebook profile, for example, and tag us in it. When you see that, right, the coffee's on us. It's a great way of developing an audience, but it's also a good way, quick tip, to help your audience get your message out there for you. They're doing the advertising for you. So there are loads and loads of ways of doing this. Loads and loads of channels, but whatever you do, make sure you're choosing a channel where your audience actually is. And they're in big enough numbers. I've used the example before. If you were selling lingerie, you probably would not want to put it in a football magazine. Why? Because the number of people who buy lingerie in that particular target market is going to be tiny. Tiny, tiny. You're much better off putting a lingerie ad in a magazine that's going to appeal to your target audience, typically women. Not always, don't want to discriminate, but that's where you're better off spending your marketing pounds, dollars there, appealing to your target audience. And there were loads and loads of others. I mean, magazine and print marketing is another channel. Advertising in shop windows is another channel. Going door to door knocking is another channel. Getting your audience to spread the word for you amongst their connections on their social media is another channel. Like I said earlier, there are hundreds. But whatever you do, once you understand your audience, make sure that you're choosing the channels that are going to make your broadcast boat message get there most effectively. Don't just choose a channel because somebody's raving about it and everybody's hyping it all up. Clubhouse is a good example. There was a lot of hype, not an awful lot of results out of it, and as a result it died. So I really, really hope that helps. I hope that's nudged you a little bit into thinking about your channels. Before I go, I want to tell you a quick story about a guy I used to have as a client back in Leicestershire, and he was a print broker, and he was going to a particular well-known networking group every week and had done for several years. And he asked me to come along and help him to get more out of his marketing. Obviously, he wanted to try and improve his business, get more customers, make more money, which is fine. So we talked about certain things that he was doing. First of all, I noticed that he wasn't emailing his customers, which in my view, no matter what business you're in, you should be doing. I don't care what business you do, email your customers. It blooming works, and the return on investment is huge, considering the effort and what you spend and the potential returns. Okay, I've got pretty much all my clients now emailing their customers, and surprisingly, it gets results. But do it regularly. Every couple of weeks max. Weekly is fine. Monthly, not good enough. So every 2 weeks. Aim for every 2 weeks. Put it in your diary. Okay. So we looked at Nick's marketing back in Leicestershire, the print broker, and we realised that he was spending what must have been approaching it was over £1,000 a year on going to this particular networking group. And I said to him, look, how much do you get out of it? And he said, well, I probably turn over about £4,000 a year. And I said, that's not bad. So that's sales, right? And he said, yes. How much? And then I asked him how much his profit margins were, and he said roughly 20%. I said, okay, it's costing you over £1,000 a year to sell £4,000 worth of stuff to this particular group and all the referrals that he got. But you're making 20% of £4,000, which is £800. As in other words, it's costing you more to be there than it is making you in gross profit. That's not net profit, that's gross profit. Its net profit would have been even lower than the 800. And I just saw this light bulb come on. And I got him to think a little bit more about where he's spending his time and where he's spending his money. And he went from there. He didn't immediately quit the networking group, but he was far more canny with it. And he didn't renew when it came up for renewal, simply because he realised that for the 4 or 5 years that he'd been a member, he'd never actually made a profit out of being there. Yes, it was good, it was great, got made some good friends, etc. But I thought, well, if those people are on your emailing list, you can keep in touch with them anyway. So have a think about it. Not everything is going to make a profit. Not everything is going to be a good investment of your time and money. Keep an eye on this stuff. Don't do what Nick did and just blindly think that because you're making sales out of something that it's making a profit. Work on this, analyze this, use the channels that are most appropriate to reaching your target audience with the broadcast, boast or brag, your message that you want to get across. Well, that's it. I mean, I know there was a lot there, and like I said earlier, if you have any questions, please ask. There is just so much to this. and you can really go. I've seen people go down some right rabbit holes with this kind of stuff. I've got friends who spend a load of blinking money on a postal campaign that just fell flat on its face because it was badly targeted, and the messaging on it, the broadcast brag on it, was just dire. Then they wasted every single penny that they had. So if you are going to spend money, start small, scale up. But the point is, understand your audience first, then you should understand how you're going to reach them, and how you're going to reach them is what this is about. So thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate you tuning in. Hope you'll subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.